Today's video is another open discussion about a growing sentiment that's been brewing in the anime community longer than I've been in it. That being, the current structure is producing way too much anime. For my watchers all year long, this probably is understandable, but for my more casual audience, allow me to expand this idea as I direct you to the seasonal structure. Every season of anime, we get a fresh lineup that'll carry us for the next 3 to 4 months on average for single core shows and 6 to 7 months for 2 core. Now let's go back in time to the early 2000s period. When looking at the total of seasonal anime, the range on average was looking in between 40 to 50 at the very most. Excluding the fact that some of these shows would be local anime for kids, then you really are looking at a 40 number. Today, however, the common seasonal lineup ranges from 80 to 90 shows total. Again, minus the fact that some of these are for children puts us at an 80 number. What's bloating these numbers to get so high, you may ask? Well, it honestly comes down to a case-by-case basis. At large, we know that fantasy series, notably isekai, are always abundant, especially the ones that have titles that span across an entire sentence. In addition to this, comedy, slice of life, and magic girl / shoujo anime have also gotten pretty hefty amounts of adaptations. We can't forget to mention series that still continue to carry on new iterations of itself throughout the years. Think Bakugan, Beyblade, card games that clearly resemble the origin that is Yu-Gi-Oh!, and of course, the iconic Pretty Cure franchise when it comes to magical girls. All of this on top of the ever-growing popularity and ever-spanning reach of anime, which continues to increase the amount of adaptation announcements throughout the year, have led to a steady rise in the total of anime per season. Now, let's keep it real here for a second, but on average, the casual watcher is barely keeping up with 5 shows at a time. Heck, at most, the dedicated fan is keeping up with 1/8 or 1/9 of today's lineup volume, if anything. You know how many shows I was watching last fall? 14 different shows, including the Netflix titles, and that was without me watching Ragna Crimson, 100 GFs, and Dead Mount Deathplay. This fall, we're looking at ReZero, Danmachi, Shangri-La, Blue Lock, Bleach, Dandadan, SAO, Blue Box, Blue Exorcist. You see what I'm getting at here? Granted, of course, not a soul is forcing me to watch any of these shows, but as a consumer, I do like these stories, and it so happens that many of them align within the same season. Between the ongoing continuations of major series, as well as constant new debuts that stack on into the future, our lineup just keeps growing. Not to mention originals that will pop out every now and then, or impactful passion projects that define that season, let alone the year of anime. There is so much quality out, mixed in with the stories we wait so long to see continue, or even nostalgia that we can't help but to be seated for the next batch of content. However, it's pretty easy to think that in terms of consumption, it's a lot, and it takes up a lot of time, especially when multiple shows drop on the same day. You could sit there for almost an entire evening trying to get through one weekly rotation because certain seasons can be so bloated. Side note, but does anybody notice now that fall continues to be the most insanely stacked season once again? What is up with that, Japan? Now, so far, I've mainly talked about general statistics regarding the abundance, but the real danger of this growth lies within the industry itself. Listen, I've said this a bunch of times by now, but producing an anime is seriously no joke. The time, the management, the resources, and so many moving pieces that play into getting one show done. Even though there are multiple teams working on different anime year long, it can be a lot, especially when resources have to be shared among multiple efforts, or if the production as a whole cannot seem to line up with the deadlines. Off the top of my head, I can think of so many series that have gone through this, from Wonder Egg Priority to the 86, Nier Automata, Sword of the Demon Hunter, Demon King Academy, and the list goes on and on. Even then, with our anime that do actually make it to the next episode, it's not as if things are always so bright regardless of the reception. We saw in real time how JJK Season 2, though producing results out of this world, had some of the most insane production circumstances that I've seen for a weekly Shonen Jump anime ever. You'd already think that My Hero Academia has it rough with the constant yearly cycle, but then you have the JJK staff fighting harder than the crew in Shibuya to make it to the next episode. The decisions made by committees to air anime at certain times will not always equate to circumstances being as they should. What may be considered a long production time for us is actually quite short for these animators, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. These companies want their bag, and the sooner they can get it out, especially if they are globally attracted series, then the better. This leading to all sorts of stories and developments coming out, especially during the pandemic. From Euphoria Ufotable's tax evasion to Mappa just being Mappa, from Netflix underpaying and exploiting, and shows all year long getting pushed back or having multiple delays. That's right, I'm looking at you, Whisper Me a Love Song. Now briefly coming back to the actual consumer perspective, we're still going to have a massive lineup, and the first thing people probably have a hard time doing is actually identifying what else they may want to watch in a season. Obviously, the new big shonen series will get everybody's attention on top of continuing series that come and go over the years, but that in itself could lead to 5 to 7 shows at one time on its own. People may get cozy with just that lineup, and that's okay, but instead a lot of shows go unwatched and merely come and go when it may be worth checking out. Try to bring up Sony Boy to somebody, and I guarantee you that out of 100 people, only 10 will know what it is. There's a reason why people like Gigguk and Mother's Basement do their massive seasonal first impression and reviews, and there's a reason why I continue to make watch lists for every season. We know that it's so much coming that we try to help narrow down your list to a sizable amount so that you don't miss out on the show that deserves your time, and even then it still may be so much anime. The industry's growth has been monumental, from having to watch Toonami or episodes of shows on YouTube to now logging in on Hulu and Crunchyroll right when the episode drops. Yet I must emphasize that if there is one thing we must always consider in relation to the industry itself, it's the price of art. All the jaw-dropping and monumental episodes that are defined as art or masterpieces are not cheap. Making anime is very expensive, especially as the demand for quality keeps going up over the years. Ufotable's founder admitted to this very point when they were caught up with tax evasion, as the cost to produce something like Demon Slayer or Heaven's Feel is so expensive because of the quality demanded. Yet production costs offered by the clients were low, causing them to go in the red. If these studios aren't making money, then they sure as hell will take shortcuts to not pay their workers, hence another industry issue of low wages. Of course, this can also bleed into manga authors' pockets as well, because considering their impact on not just the industry, but the world itself, majority of them get paid peanuts in return. I am just waiting to hear how much people like Horikoshi or Gege have actually made for their monumental success. Because there is no slowing down in sight, we are met with issues that ricochet into each other, dragged on by the continuous growth of anime around the world. The constant demand for both consumers and the industry leads to more demand and quality. That quality, on top of various standard procedures within the industry, has led to prices getting very high, which can lead to finances always being in a weird spot rather than consistent. Alongside general production issues, this can affect the show's run, bringing multiple delays or chalked momentum that overall kills the conversation for a show. Yet still to this day, the amount of anime produced has only increased, with a number so high that it really cannot be constantly kept up with without consuming anime feeling like a chore, causing many shows to be produced only to suffer and come and go, and at large continuing this cycle that feels like a balloon getting larger and larger, almost ready to pop. Not to mention, with so much anime producing so much merch, a profitable amount of it cannot be sustained. It's impossible to support everything while remaining financially smart, and some figures are also stupid expensive. As I do this all year long, I genuinely have to wonder what will be the breaking point for this industry. What'll happen if things become unsustainable and project by project begins to crash and burn? Is that going to be what it takes for the industry to begin massive change, or is it already too late knowing how big anime is now? I don't know at all. I can only do my research and put forth my own thoughts. However, the evidence, the metrics, the proof from the providers themselves is all out there, and it is undeniable. It's hard to not be concerned, as once again we are entering another bloated fall season, and only God knows how much benefit is actually gained outside of our enjoyment. Animation is all about passion, and that passion is suffering under the current day industry. So with that, I leave you all with a simple question. Are we in an era of too much anime, and what are the chances something is done about it? With that, ladies and gentlemen, is gonna bring me to the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching, and please let me know all your thoughts about this topic in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there until we meet again in the next video.